Hello and welcome to the latest edition, the visualised edition of the Backstage podcast, bringing you all of the latest interviews and reviews from the world of film and television. And joining me is Sky's entertainment reporter Claire Gregory.
Hello.
And Sky producer Jayson Mansaray.
Hello.
And look, we can't talk for too long already because it's a very busy week. We're bringing you a very, very starry show this week. All of the stars of Tinseltown have been with us this week, talking to us here on the podcast. Here's what's coming up.
Holy Toledo, that's Mitch Campbell.
You can't outrun the cops!
I can't lose my license.
Before we get on to some of the major A-listers that we've been talking to this week, we have to talk Oscars first.
This is a rumour. This isn't actually confirmed yet, but it seems there could be a stunt Oscar coming our way. It's something that's been rumoured for a while, talked about. There's been a lot of call for it, as well as a casting Oscar. These are kind of areas that feel like they're not currently
The winner
recognised.
does a forward roll and a handstand to collect their statuette.
It would make for some thrilling footage, at least, during the ceremony. I'd say that much.
And, I mean, one of the key winners would surely be Mr. Tom Cruise.
Oh, how interesting.
Well, it just so happens. He has been in town this week, and I was fortunate enough to catch up with him because, of course, the big blockbuster release is coming up in July. The latest Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, we have to stress. And we can't really give you any reviews at the moment because we've all signed bits of paperwork that says we're not allowed to.
But safe to say it's action-packed.
Action-packed. My hands went numb. I was so clutching my face for the 2 hours worth of film that I forgot to kind of move my limbs. But without saying anything, what we can say is that I did get to have a very good chat with Mr. Tom Cruise, mic drop there, who was his fabulous self, talking to everyone at the London Leicester Square premiere. And here's what he had to say to me. The thing about these films is you watch one and you think they're not going to be able to trump the next. I mean, how do you do this? How do you workshop this?
You know, it's McHugh and I, and we just constantly push each other. Never rest on your laurels. After every film that we have, and tonight I'll probably say it to him again, when it's done, I'll turn around and go, we could do better. You know, and that's how I feel about everything that I do.
Tell us about day one of shooting, where you get on a motorcycle, go off of the cliff,
Yes.
6 seconds before you might hit the ground. Do you even have time to question what you're doing?
You know, when I train, there's so much going on that time expands. When I'm dropping at 6 seconds, it feels longer.
And Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 comes out in cinemas on July the 10th. And we will, of course, talk a bit more about that on the longer podcast if you want to check out and have a listen to that at some point, probably next week. Not this week because of all of the paperwork that we've signed. But moving on, let's talk about something that we can talk in a bit more detail about. Wes Anderson is back with another star-studded film. It's one of the most talked about indie offerings of the summer, and it's Asteroid City.
I don't like the way that guy looked at us, the alien.
How did he look?
Like we're doomed.
Maybe we are.
I've just informed the president.
How long can they keep us in Asteroid City legally?
The world will never be the same.
Claire, look, this is one that we've been talking about for quite a while now, because when you see the trailer, it's so star-studded, isn't it?
It's absolutely gorgeous looking, and that's even before you put all these mega stars in it. As you say, in huge cast list. You've got people like Tom Hanks, Scarlett Johansson, Bryan Cranston, Tilda Swinton, Jeffrey Wright, and the list goes on. We haven't got enough time right now for me to literally list everyone. But this is interesting because it's like a film within a film it's a play within a TV special.
It's very Wes.
They actually built a functioning town in Spain in order for everyone to kind of live together and work together while making this.
They filmed this during lockdown. Can you imagine being in a lockdown bubble with Bryan Cranston, Jason Schwartzman, Scarlett Johansson? It's quite a bubble, isn't it?
The film itself is about set in 1950s America, Southwest America, and it's about a kind of convention where people get together to celebrate the anniversary of a meteorite landing in this small town in Southwest US, and they're all there for this stargazing contest when an actual alien turns up.
What are the chances?
None of that really matters.
None of that really matters because it looks beautiful.
It looks
The-
beautiful.
The palette of colors is incredible. But the only thing I take up is everyone describes this as the indie filmmaker. Wes Anderson, and just as a director, has grossed over 280 million across his films already. We're beyond him being an
We don't
indie-
need to say he's going to do all right.
Well,
be fine.
look at the list of actors that are in it. I just think it's important to
Well,
put that
it's
out.
quite a list, and we were fortunate enough on the podcast to catch up with a few of those stars, including Bryan Cranston, who plays the narrator.
I was influenced by Ted Koppel, and I sort of loved the way he delivered the news. And I also feel that those men fall in love with their own voices. And here it is. So that sort of came to me that we would do it in this sort of registry. And without any emotion and without any opinion on what I was saying, so that the actors in the group can supply that. I was just there to monitor and feed in exposition.
And Scarlett Johansson spoke to the podcast about preparing for such a meta role.
The prep was more, maybe it was more like involved with this film because it had so many different layers. Sometimes I don't always, if I go into doing something, I try to come in with something to hang my hat on. So I have something to offer in the beginning, and then it hopefully will evolve from there. But this needed a bit of kind of thinking on it and discussion with Wes and a lot of questions and stuff like that.
Asteroid City is out in cinemas now. Can we also talk on the podcast this week? Maybe shoehorn another celebrity in here.
Oh, I think we can.
We'll give it a go, shall we, in our 10 minutes? Jennifer Lawrence, she's back on the big screen with her new film, No Hard Feelings.
We've just been so worried about our son.
He's going to Princeton in the fall.
Oh, I've heard of it. We tried everything to bring him out of his shell.
He doesn't come out of his room. He doesn't talk to girls. Doesn't drink.
So when you say date him, do you mean date him or date him? Yes.
Date him. Date him hard.
Okay. I'll date his brains out.
Claire, tell us a little bit about what this one's about then.
Well, almost unbelievably, this is based on a real Craigslist ad, which is a listing site in the US. So in the film, Jennifer Lawrence plays a woman. She's absolutely broke. She's about to lose her car, which is bad news because she's an Uber driver. And she finds an intriguing job ad, which is it's been posted by some parents who are looking for someone to date and, in fact, sleep with their very introverted 19-year-old son who they think needs to come out of his shell before he goes off to college. So she's basically got the summer to try and seduce him, and if she does it, they'll give her this lovely car that
It is
they've got.
wild that was a real Craigslist post, isn't it?
Absolutely bonkers. And this is Jennifer Lawrence, kind of much is being made of the fact this is her first big lead in a comedy. She's kind of rose to fame doing drama, so something slightly different for her. Although, we've seen her in interviews and things like that. We kind of know that she's
That's
funny.
my point. I feel like I don't understand why this hasn't happened before and why anyone's surprised. If you look at her demeanour, the way she acts, the way she talks, it makes absolute sense.
Well, we go into a bit more detail on the podcast, don't we? But hilariously, Claire, she was so running to such time, wasn't she, with her interviews?
It's basically unheard of for celebrities to be on time. And Jennifer Lawrence was not only on time, but ahead of schedule. So I was left running to get to this interview in order to be there to speak to her. So hence why I might look slightly flustered when I caught up with her. Has comedy been playing it a bit safe, maybe? Is it about time for something like this?
I feel that way personally. Boy, it's just been sad in New York. Like, our sky was just like brown for 4 days and, children couldn't go outside. I think it's time for just like a good old-fashioned laugh. And it really is hard to make a comedy where you're not offending people. Yeah. Everybody in some sense will be offended by this film.
No Hard Feelings is in cinemas now. No hard feelings, gang. But we've got to go. This is the end of the Visualised podcast. But if you've liked what you've listened to today, there is the longer version of the podcast itself where you get much more of the interviews of the people that we've heard from today and much more of our reviews. Do take a listen. You can just scan the QR code on your screens now or look for the podcast wherever it is you get your regular podcasts from. This is Backstage, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Jayson.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you again very soon.